Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Friday, January 10th, 2025. I didn't change the date on here, but I remembered. 2025. Playoff football is here, Dad. Best time of the year, really. I mean, aside from, I love Christmas time, but best time of the football season. Playoff football is here. I love playoff football more than anything. What you got?
Agree. It's great. It's been fun this week watching, the predictions and all about this week. But, yeah, it's going to be good. Here it is, Super Wild Card Weekend, which I guess they don't call it that anymore.
I don't know.
It's kind of weird. I heard some commentators talking about it, arguing about it. But
it kind of became Super Wild Card Weekend once they added the sixth game.
Right.
But I don't know. It's not really called. I don't know. It felt like that 1 year they did.
I think it's kind of cool.
It kind of exploded. But I think it is just now. It's just kind of like, well, it's no longer super because it's just the normal. I guess.
Right.
I don't know, but no, I love playoff football. I've told people at work.
So do I.
I told people at work many times already, all the time. Even when the Eagles aren't in it, playoffs. Yeah. It's just different. And there's years where the Eagles get eliminated, and it sucks, it breaks my heart, yada yada. But then I'm like, all right, it's great.
What's the first game on Saturday?
Exactly. Yeah. I love watching playoff football. It's so much different. It's a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole different level of intensity. It's just great. I love it.
Yeah, especially how they expanded it. In the old days, you didn't have the Saturday games. You only had the Sunday games. So you'd have a whole mish of games going on. And I love the way they've got it now where they spread it out to 3 different days. You got 2 on Saturday, and the Saturday games start at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yep.
That's been around for a while, but I loved it when they first did that, so you could do whatever you had to do Saturday morning.
Yes.
Run around, whatever it takes, and then you could be sitting in the house by 2:30 or 4:30 back east. But, it was awesome. It was really neat to be able to do that. And then right through dinner time, you got the 2 games. And I remember one Saturday we played, I think it was the Falcons, but I do remember it was cool to be able to have that individual game and not have all these games meshed together. You can focus on one at a time.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So very excited for this weekend, not just for the Eagles game, of course, that mostly so, but also just excited for football to be back in playoff form. Before we jump into the whole matchup of the game and talk about all the other games around, as always, want to give a shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles fan club of Colorado Springs. They will be watching the game at Rhino's Sports and Spirits on Sunday at 2:30. I hope to see you there. We'll see if we're able to go. I don't know if my wife works that day. Might be hanging with the baby at home. If I'm not, I definitely will be at the bar, of course, with him, this knucklehead, and we'll be raising some ruckus and starting some fight. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we'll be getting passionate. We'll be getting excited. It'll be a great time.
Yeah, trying to keep it in contain.
And before we really get into the even talking about the game, I do want to give out the All Pro. Teams came out today. First and second team All-Pro came out. And we'll go ahead and talk about the Eagles on those teams. So 6 Eagles across the board made the All-Pro teams. We'll start with the first team, of course. The obvious one, really the one that, 12 weeks into the season, it was like, okay, well, he'll be a first-team All-Pro.
Definitely.
Was Saquon Barkley. Obviously, he's going to end the season possibly as the third finalist for the MVP, not the first runner-up, the second runner-up for MVP. So not a surprise here. He gets into the first team All-Pro. Obviously, 345 carries, 2,005 yards. That's a 5.81 average with 13 touchdowns. Only 1 fumble lost, and it was a fake one.
It was fake.
But overall, Dad, happy to see him on the first team, of course.
Oh, it's great. And it's funny because when's the last time we had an All-Pro running back? It's got to be.
Was Shady on there?
I don't know if he was an All-Pro because that's the difference between Pro Bowl and All-Pro is All-Pro is very, very limited. You only get like one lineman and one center and one guard, 2 guards and 2 tackles and one running back, right?
When you lead, no, it's 2 running backs. Yeah, well, first team is 1 running back.
That's what I mean. You won first team. That's the one.
I was gonna say Shady had to be a babe because if you lead the league in rushing yards, you are.
It might have been that year 20.
So no, he was a 2-time first team All-Pro in 2011 and 2013. So funny, it was never second team, but 2011. That makes sense. 1,309 yards and 17
big touchdowns. Yeah.
And then, of course, in 2013, the 1,600 yards at the time is the Eagles' record with 539 receiving yards and a total of 11 touchdowns. Only 1 fumble. Same with in 2011, only 1 fumble. So makes sense. And he averaged 4.8 and 5.1 in those 2 seasons.
So it's been 12 years since we have 11 years.
So since 13, 11 years, 11 seasons since we had an All-Pro, not even an
All-Pro running back.
Yeah,
that's big time.
I mean, because I'm trying to think others who would have even came close to that. I mean, well, Miles Sanders, was he maybe a
Westbrook,
second teamer?
maybe. Westbrook, maybe
Well,
one of those years.
Yeah, but he would have been before. But I'm trying to think since then. I think Westbrook was a second teamer for sure.
Yeah.
But
Sanders,
Miles
no.
Sanders, no, he couldn't have been,
No.
which is kind of funny because you think maybe in that second year he would have been, the big year he had 1,200 yards and 10 and 11 touchdowns, but no. But yeah, for Saquon, first team All-Pro, first time the Eagles had a first team All-Pro running back since Shady in 2013. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then next first team All-Pro. This one is obvious to Eagles fans. I mean, I feel like this was like if it doesn't work, if it doesn't happen, there's something wrong.
Right.
And it was Zach Bond.
Yeah.
Middle linebacker for the Eagles, our head guy on the defense, our leader of the defense, Zach Bond, first team All-Pro. What you got there, Dad?
Oh, that's just amazing because when they had the Pro Bowls last week, he was second team Pro Bowl.
He was a start. He was not a starter.
Alternate.
No. He was just.
Yeah, I
know. I think you're confused about how it works.
But they give a couple of them.
No,
I know.
There's two Pro Bowl linebackers,
right?
And one's a starter. Or there's three All-Pro linebackers. One's a starter, and then the other two are just Pro Bowlers.
So who was the starter?
Fred Warner.
Okay, so in this particular case, it looks to me like he was listed first. I don't know if that makes a
Correct.
difference.
Fred Warner was the second team All-Pro.
So Zach Braun is a first team All-Pro.
Yes.
That's killer. That's
it is.
killer.
No.
And I thought he should have been a first team Pro Bowl too.
That just doesn't matter.
I know.
I just don't like debating the Pro Bowl. It's fake. It's not real. It's just it's fake.
It's fan voted. It's team voted.
And no, I'm sorry. There are 3 first team All-Pro linebackers.
Okay.
Zach Bond, Fred Warner, Roquan Smith.
Okay, so it's the same.
So yeah,
but yeah, if he wasn't voted for it, I mean, he was by far the best linebacker in the league, especially in the NFC.
100% agree.
In the league.
Yeah. But it's funny because he's not, he's not that household name.
No.
So it is hard. You do have to fight for
to break into that club is really tough.
Yes.
Now, once you break in,
you're kind of stuck there.
You're kind
unless
of
you
in
have
good
a
shape.
really bad season. Yes.
So I mean, that's a good thing for some of the other players that you may mention here.
But he ends the season with 16 games, only 1 interception, 4 passes deflected, 5 forced fumbles, which led the league.
That's killer.
1 fumble recovery, 3.5 sacks, and 151 combined tackles, with 11 tackles for loss and 5 quarterback hits.
That's great.
Yeah, he had unbelievable season.
It is unbelievable.
He was incredible.
Congrats to him.
Yeah, definitely. Next on the so that was everyone for the first team. On the second team, let's go start with our guy that we really wanted to get it more than anything, Jordan Mailata. So Jordan Mailata gets second team All-Pro at the left tackle position behind Tristan Wirfs. It's tough because PFF rated him as the best NFL player this year.
Right.
So you want to see him on first team, but
yeah.
I'm not going to argue because you missed 4 games.
Right.
You missed Pro. That's how it works. It is.
And it probably should. I mean, unless you were totally outstanding. But it's good for him to break into it. We were a little bit disappointed that he didn't, get more pub this year, but he's been fantastic. And when you watch the Sunday night games and they show the PFF rankings, he's the number 1 guy. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
And congrats to him as well, because we've been saying it for a couple of years now. He's been up there, but he hasn't been able to break in. I think he was able to break in this year.
Yeah, I'd say 2 years ago he was on the board as one of the best left tackle or one of the best tackles in the league. Last year he was kind of snubbed from everything, and then this year I think it's official. He's the best left tackle in the league, and there's really no time for debating it.
And we were talking about it earlier. The Eagles have the number 1 hands down offensive line.
I'd agree.
There's no doubt, and the hands down number 1 rushing game.
Well, definitely.
So I mean, you got to at least have, if not first team All-Pros, a couple second team All-Pros.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Next guy on the second team All-Pro, not across from him, but on the other side of the line, going to be our right tackle, Lane Johnson. How many All-Pro teams has he made now? Is it 3? This his 3rd, or is this his 4th? I know it's not enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the thing I'm going to say. It's not enough. So I'm sorry. He's a 2-time first team All-Pro, and he's a 3-time second team All-Pro. So a 5-time All-Pro.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And that counts as this year as well for the
that counts this year. Yeah, correct. 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-team All-Pro, 2-time first, 3-time second. So I'm cool with that.
And you can debate some of the other linemen that were ahead of him. I mean, you only get one other chance. And, there's some pretty good right and left tackles out there. So
yes,
it's the way the cards fall. It's a bummer. Obviously he wants the first team All-Pro because that's how you get those rings and go to Canton.
That's how you go to the Hall of Fame.
That's just how it works.
For sure. And then going into our next on the second team All-Pro, this one was kind of a surprise for both of us. Now he did make the Pro Bowl, right? Jalen Carter,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I was
Why-
second team as well.
Well, that's not a thing. Stop saying second team.
Well, he
Pro Bowl
wasn't
does not have a second team. Yeah, he was on the 2024 Pro Bowl. But
right.
this was great. So Jalen Carter, obviously, we're talking about. This one was a surprise for me. We kind of talked about it. It seems like he's not, really liked around the league. It's going to be hard for him to get these things because
Yeah.
referees don't really like him. But the PFF and All Pro team, they don't judge off of that. They go
Yeah.
off of how good he is, and he got second team All Pro.
Well, he's double teamed on every play. He gets held in half every play. And, if he can just double his sack number, he'd be in there too. But
Yeah.
that's the thing, though. When I say second team, third team, the
no
All
such thing.
Pro, there's only one or two
Well,
of
no.
one position.
No. There's
So go.
No, first team All Pro defensive linemen. There's two first teamers.
And
There's
who are
two
they?
second teamers.
Right.
It's Cameron Hayward and Chris Jones. They were the
Right.
two
We
first
agree
teams.
they should be the number one.
And then the two second teamers were Zach Allen and Jalen Carter.
That's pretty dang good for him.
But
But like you say, he finally broke into that club.
Yes, correct. And then next, let me go over Jalen Carter's stats. Sorry. In this season, 42 combined tackles, 17 assisted, and 4.5 sacks. And that's doesn't show you enough of what he does.
Not.
I mean, I'm going to look it up real quick. I have it pulling up here. As far as passes deflected, I'm going to say maybe 8. I mean, I feel like it's a lot. It might not even show on here. Only 6.
Okay.
Wow. It feels like it's maybe it was maybe all 6 of them were in the last 5 weeks or something.
Right. It seems like he does.
Feels like a lot. Yeah. But no, he had 6 passes deflected, 2 forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, 42 combined tackles, and 12 tackles for loss, along with 16 quarterback hits.
Yeah, and
so
that's his big thing. And it's also he just wrecks the game plan of the other team.
Yes.
I mean, and that's where I think they should be looking at and saying, okay, this is the guy, that's the guy, because if you have 3 other great players with you, that's the difference between you being that one guy that makes everybody else better, which he really did this year.
Yep, definitely.
I mean, look what he did with Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, who played great and been in great conditioning this year, had a great season, even though he's got numbers that you'd go, oh.
Yeah.
But, he's there when he needs to be, and he's stopping that running game.
And then the last guy on the All-Pro team, on the second team All-Pro, is going to be A.J. Brown, finishing with 67 receptions, 1,079 yards, 7 touchdowns. Makes sense for him to be second teamer. Again, missed 3 games this season, so had a couple injuries here and there. 16.1 yard average is phenomenal.
Not just that, just the low numbers. I mean, not 12, 1,400, 50, and even his touchdowns were not at that level. So, I mean, to get that, it's telling you got respect.
Yeah. It's funny because AJ suffered from this early in his career where he played on a team with an unbelievable running back, so he didn't always have incredible numbers.
Right.
In 2019 in Tennessee, he only had 1,051 yards, 8 touchdowns. It's good. It's really good for a rookie, especially.
Good. Sure.
Next year, 1,075 and 11 touchdowns. And then next year, he only played 13 games, but he had 869 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because it does feel like, man, like it's like, wow, only 1,051, only 1,075.
Right.
You think there'd be more, but he was playing with Derrick Henry as a running back, and Derrick Henry, similar to Saquon Barkley, he's going to get the numbers. He's going to get the carries. You're not going to not give him. And in 2019, he had 1,500 yards. In 2020, he had 2,027. So, it's kind of tough to argue AJ numbers. His numbers aren't always unbelievable, especially this year and his early years in his career, but it's because he's playing on these great running back teams. So it's kind of funny.
We didn't throw the ball that much as we were talking about earlier, where I think we had said the Eagles threw it 300 plus times this year. And Detroit's thrown it 480 or some crazy number like that. So, I mean, 150 less pass because we're winning the games by 20, and we got running back going for 150 yards a game.
Well, we have the 3rd least passing yards in the season, and of course had the
most
crazy rushing yards.
Right.
But that just makes sense. That's the
and it's funny
because
then analyzers will point to that, and I just want to say, did you not watch?
I know.
Are you not paying attention?
I know.
I was watching Nick today. He said we were 13-4 this year, and I went,
who? Nick Wright?
Nick Wright. He
14.
said we were 13-4, and I went
14-3.
Okay, I'm some schlub out here on with a table and some stuff behind me, and I know we were 14-3. So let's, I commented on it and said, hey, put a little work into it, will you?
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the Eagles-Packers breakdown. Eagles hosting the Packers this super wild card weekend. Sunday at 2:30 p.m. for us, 4:30 Eastern time. Dad, do you have a weather report for Philly?
I got a weather report. It's going to be in the low 30s. It's going to be 5 to 10 mile an hour winds, no precipitation. It's going to be warm during the day, 37, 38, but by the time kickoff is, the sun's already setting. So it's going to be 30 degrees. It's going to be cold. It's funny. I'd seen some things in the Packer fans. Oh, the Eagles, they don't play in the cold weather.
Talking about.
Check the last 4 days. Last 4 weeks, we've been playing in some pretty cold weather.
Only $158, dude.
It's crazy.
I want to go.
I know, it's nuts.
I had to look up the tickets right now while we're on the pod. I didn't look them up, but
it is weird to me. But I guess you spend all the season ticket money and you can't afford to go to the playoff game now.
I guess not, but
the game's going to be on regular TV, and you watch it with all your friends or something.
The 158 is probably the standing room only. I'm probably looking at that.
They're up in the left corner there.
But I'm pulling it here, and God, I want to go. I want to go so bad.
That would be fun. Going last year to the regular Sunday night game was awesome, but going to a playoff game, I can't imagine. I went to one NFC Championship game, and it cost me a pretty penny, but boy, it was fun.
It's unbelievable. I got ready to go back next year already. All right, let's get into the matchup. So on the offensive side, Packers defense, they're the fifth ranked defense in the NFL as far as total yards. They're tied, and they're seventh against the run. So this is a good defense. Good rushing defense. They only allow 99 per game. Obviously, we put up 179 a game, second in the league for as far as rushing yards. So, I mean, this is going to be a tough one. I know people will always say, like, you can beat them on the run and beat them on the ground. And it's true. That's what we do. But, man, they're pretry good rushing defense. And it can be kind of worrisome going into this type of game.
Well, they're no slouch. I mean, and that's the thing. I've watched some shows. Oh, it's going to be a blowout. Hold your horses there. This is a good team. Yes, they've got some injuries. Yes, they've got some question marks at certain pieces. But when you have the number 5 defense, that's pretty darn good. And if you're number 7 overall with the run, that's pretty good because they faced some teams that we know about. They faced Jahmyr Gibbs twice this year.
Oh, yeah.
They faced some other teams. They faced us early in the season.
Yep.
Week 1, and we ran on them pretty good.
We did,
but
it's hard. Week 1's always it's almost impossible to judge. Right? We've always talked about that.
That's a year ago. Like Cam Jurgens said, it's a year ago.
Oh, it's true. Very, very true. Funny thing about this team, they don't have any great pass rushers, and by that I mean I'm sure they're really, they're really good, but no one has more than 7.5 sacks, so they don't have a home run 14,
big name
15,
guy,
kind of like us. We don't have a 15, 16 guy, but they're good. They're 7th in the NFL in sacks. 45 across the board for the full season, and that's pretty darn good, pretty respectable for a team that doesn't have a 13, 15, 16, sack guy.
I agree. Just in comparison, the Eagles had 41 sacks on the season, so we're close to it. And, of course, we haven't had any sacks in weeks now because the last couple of games, I was hoping we would, kind of build that number up and move up a little bit in the rankings. But I guess, you can wish for all you want. But
it's funny. I'm going to cut us off real quick in the middle. It's so funny how different every single NFL season is, as far as like sacks go, as far as rushing yards, stuff like that. Last year, the leading rusher was Christian McCaffrey. I think he had like 1,600 yards or something like that. And it's just funny because this year, like, 4 guys have those numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm talking about?
1,500 plus.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like he had 1,500. He was the only one who had more than 1,500.
Right.
He let me see. He had 1459. So 1459. Right. And I think no one even had like close to that. Like he was beating everyone like 200 yards. 1459.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 or 6 guys have that.
Yeah. Well, you got one team that has 2,000-yard rushers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Derrick Henry had 1921. Bijan Robinson had 1456, Jonathan Taylor 1431,
right there,
and Gibbs 1412. I mean, all 5 leading rushers this year had almost what he had as a leader last year. It's just funny how different it is.
It is funny how that worked, and especially with the way that we always hear about how the running game is going away and we're leaning less on running backs. And you could pick a running back anywhere. You don't need to draft number 1 overall. But again, the game ebbs and flows, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, the other one I was going to talk about is the sacks. This year's sack leader had 17, and you're like, or 17 and a half. And you're kind of like, that's funny. Like, it doesn't see, like, it feels like there's years, oh, wow, he had 20, or this guy had 19 or 20 and a half or 21. And you're like, whoa. And then it's like, oh, the leader had 17 and a half, and the second guy had 14. Like,
yeah, it was a little bit down weird. As far as the numbers go for the guys.
But it shows you the reason the sacks were down is because the rushing yards were up. Less dropbacks.
Less passing, less sacks. Yes.
Exactly. Let's get into the next one. So interceptions, as far as the defensive backs go, they have one guy with big interceptions, Xavier McKinney. After that, it's a few guys here. Xavier McKinney had 8. After that, it's a few guys here who had 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And it's kind of funny because that's similar to us.
Yes.
Gardner Johnson had 6. Reed had 4, and then after that, Vaughn and Nakobe each had 1, and I think that's all of our sacks right there.
Not many
So
picks.
our interceptions.
Yeah,
sorry.
I got you. Not many
So
picks though.
it's funny because it's funny how like the Packers, there's not a lot of guys who pick the ball off, but there's one who will get a
Xavier
lot.
McKinney is a big name
Yeah.
player too.
And then the big thing we're going to be looking at is they don't have Jair Alexander going into this game. Jair Alexander, a top cornerback in the NFL, definitely their number one cornerback on that team. And even when AJ is going against him, he caught 140 yards or something like that in the first game against him. So it kind of makes you like, oh look, lick your chops a little bit, get a little excited.
Well, it's funny because you talk about their top cornerback. I don't know how many picks Xavier Alexander had.
2. Yeah.
Our top cornerback didn't have any
picks.
Picks. We got to get off the sacks.
I know we're having a hard time.
Yeah,
sorry.
Too many. Yeah, Quinion has 0 interceptions.
Yep.
But I think he's been saving it up for the playoffs.
It's true. I'm with that. But yeah, in week 1, I said 140. Sorry. AJ had 5 catches, 119 yards, and 1 touchdown against Alexander.
Okay.
Against the Packers defense, and some of that was against Alexander. So
of course,
you feel good about it when they have Alexander, and without it, man, you're feeling really good. Again, I'm not trying to get too confident, but that's something I really think this is a team you can throw the ball against.
Yeah.
They're 12th in defense, in passing defense, so they're pretty darn
Still
good.
Pretty good, man. That's up there.
13th. I'm sorry, 13th in passing defense.
That's up there.
So their biggest thing is their rushing defense is great, and that's what they rely on to beat you. So I think we're going to have to focus on throwing this game, and we'll see the question marks going into that in the sense that people have kind of been pointing out, Jalen might have some rust.
Yeah.
He might have some rust.
I think the biggest advantage the Eagles have is the fact that we were able to sit last week, just like we talked about.
Yep.
Everyone sat. All the 22 starters sat last week.
Yeah.
There's a few guys that played.
Davis,
Milton Williams,
you're right,
Davis, yes.
Most guys, yeah.
Yes. Gainwell played somewhat, so that was just to keep him sharp. We got Goddard out there to keep him going.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that's
I know what
something you do.
Yeah. Majority of the starters.
They got
sat.
to work the aches and pains, and now it's been 2 weeks since they're going to be hitting each other's knuckleheads. So they're going to be okay.
That's right. Let's get to the defensive matchup. So this is the Packers. This is the ninth total offense in the league. Total yards, 9th in the league, 378 a game. Now, what you like is our defense is first in defense yards in the league. Only let up 296.3 a game, and some of that's kind of skewed because this defense is not the defense that played the first 4 weeks of the season.
That's one thing, and the other thing is the games where the garbage yards were.
Oh yeah,
I would say on our team this year the garbage yards were higher than any other team for sure.
I would guess.
There were so many games that we were up by 15, 20, and the other, we're playing prevent and you get pulling guys out. And now
the Rams, the Commanders' first game, what am I trying to think? The biggest game that really happened.
Ravens.
The Ravens. Thank you. That was
the Pittsburgh game. I mean,
it's true.
There's a few games now. There's a few games that we shut teams down totally, like the Cowboys and the Giants twice, and they didn't get any yards after the first quarter. I mean, but I mean, the other thing is with a top scoring defense too. So
next big thing to watch for is going to be Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, I mentioned the top 5 rushing leader. He's 6th, so he's right on the outside of the top 5 looking in. But he's had a great season. I think 13 rushing touchdowns on the ground and 1,329 rushing yards, along with 342 receiving yards and an extra touchdown.
He's a big bruising back.
He is. He's a big dude. He can beat you with speed. He can beat you with running you over. He does fumble. He's got 4 fumbles and 3 lost this season. Doesn't get long plays. 38 is his longest rush of the season. So he is a, pound for pound
plodding back.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just like that. He's a little bit at a time. He'll come and get you a little bit at a time.
And not really a game breaker. So I mean that's a good thing to know late in the game where you're not going to really have to worry about him going 70. Just keep it contained. Basically take him out of the game. Shut the run down like we've been doing everybody else this year. Go after the quarterback. Get the ball.
Yeah. And that leads us into the next one, the quarterback. This is a good quarterback, man. Probably one of the most talented in the league. I know the talented word is different than, greatest or best, but he's definitely one of the most talented players in the league, possibly the most talented in the NFL and the NFC. He's a really good player. He's only been sacked 14 times this year.
That's pretty low.
That goes along with the sense that he did not play every single game. That's
true.
That's to be noted. But in the 15 games he played, he only played 15 games. He's only sacked 14 times.
That's good.
I mean, less than 1 sack a game. And it's funny because I think the first time we broke down the Eagles-Packers game, the first game of the season, I mentioned, this offensive line's not that good. He's only been sacked 14 times. I mean, that's really good.
Well, it just shows you he's got some mobility. He knows how to get out of the pocket. Good play design. I mean, there's a lot to that fact as well. And the one thing it tells you, he's not a knucklehead. He doesn't just take a sack. He knows how to get rid of the ball.
Yep.
So be around the sidelines to pick that thing off when he throws it up for grabs to get out of bounds.
Yeah.
And keep him on the run. That's what you got to do. He is a little dinged up from what we've heard. It's kind of a mystery this week. It's kind of a quiet mystery where, they talked last week about how he got banged on the elbow and he had no feeling in his hand. And after the game, they were talking to the coach. The coach says, well, we could have put him back in, but he didn't have any feeling in his hand.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, how's he going to throw the ball? It was a funny bone situation, but it's still, he was getting pretty roughed up. And that's the difference between us and them. We did not have to play these guys to get banged up last week, and they did.
Yep. And the crazy thing about this team, not this team, Jordan Love, first 8 games, he threw 11 interceptions. In the last, I think, 7, 1, 2. Oh, I'm sorry. Clicked on something. Let's see. Okay. In the last 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No interceptions.
Right.
So, I mean, he's back end of the season. He's really cleaned it up.
Yep.
Against Minnesota, he was sacked 3 times. But as far as interceptions, turnovers, he has changed it completely. He has not fumbled since then. He has not had any interceptions. I mean, he's really cleaned it up. Now, last week,
he cleaned his game up.
We want to point out the fact that, he did get banged up in the Chicago Bears game, and they did lose to the Bears in a game that they were trying to win.
Yeah.
That's kind of the biggest note going into this game is, we ended the season on a high note. We rested our starters. We got a win with our backups at home. And then, they played their starters and they got beat. I know they, unfortunately they lost Christian Watson for the season, a great young talent. And then Jordan Love got hurt in it. But, it's not good for you to limp into the playoffs, not losing 2 in a row in the last 2 weeks.
Agreed.
That's a big deal, man.
Especially to the team from Chicago.
Well, especially the team from Chicago in your own home stadium, in Green Bay. I mean, that's a team that the Chicago Bears have only beat them twice in the last 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say there was a long streak where they had the Bears had not won in Green Bay. And that we had the same situation last week.
No, not one in Green Bay. Not one at all.
That's true. That's true. And it was years, several years.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Because you don't want to give that up.
Yeah. The next matchup I have for the defense is going to be the solid receiving core that the Green Bay Packers have. Now, I say solid because similar to their pass rush, no greats. There's no, top 10, top 5, top 6, whatever. No, there's 3 guys who are, I would say 4, but Christian Watson hurt. There's 3 or 4 guys who are, they're solid. They got Romeo Dobbs,
right.
Jaden,
Reed.
His name. Jaden Reed. Thank you. Yeah, Jaden Reed and
tight end.
No, I was gonna say Dontavian Wicks.
Okay.
All of them had 500 yards or more, I believe. Let me pull up Wicks. I have to check that one. I think Reed had about 800. Dobbs had 601, and then Dontavian Wicks 415 with 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns for Romeo Dobbs.
So he's got weapons.
No, definitely. And then Jaden Reed, I can't remember exactly what his receiving touchdowns was. Let me have it here. 6 touchdowns on the season. Yeah. So they've got some weapons. I mean, like I said, none of them are game breakers. None of them are first team all pro. None of them are like that.
Right.
But they've got 3 guys who are solid. They catch the ball. They do their job. They're solid players. They're good.
But Reed did get us in the opener, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's probably the guy we need to watch for. Maybe put Quinion on him and let him get 1 or 2 catches for 3 yards or something like that.
Yeah. And you did point out, I should have mentioned, the tight end, Tucker Kraft. He's had a good season as well.
Yes.
707 yards on the season. I don't know his touchdowns. I didn't have that pulled up either. Let me see.
Yeah, but he's one of their big players.
No, he is. Yeah, 700 yards on season for tight end. Nowadays you want them to have 1,000, and Travis Kelce's broken that realm, and Gronk and Kittle. But 700 yards, that used to be
the
that
number.
Tight end.
That is.
He's a top 5.
Yeah.
7 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, so 500 plus was the number. To me, it's always the number.
So 7 touchdowns on the season, 700 yards. That's a good tight end, man.
That's real good. So we're going to watch him with some of the linebackers, or maybe hopefully Lacobe can cover him and take a couple to the house.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be – I mean, I'm excited to watch this game, man. It's going to be fun.
It's not going to be an easy one. That's the thing. That's
not at all.
That's what kind of hope for. Usually when you're a 2 seed and you're playing a 6 or 7 seed, you're kind of comfortable knowing it's the team that just snuck in the playoffs or whatever. Yeah, they got something to fight for, but it's not this year.
It's funny how different it is, especially with that seven teams that get in the playoffs on each side. Usually you get a 7 seed and you look at them and you're like, oh, they're 9-8,
right,
or 10-7, 10-6 back in those days. But
they had to win the last 2 games to get in the division. Yeah.
Now it's 11-1, 11-6, and this is a good, really good team.
Yeah. No slouch, that's for sure.
For sure. Let's get to our player to watch, Dad. Who do you have as your player to watch for this game?
So my player to watch is going to be Cooper DeJean because the guy is amazing. He should have been a Pro Bowler, I think, an All-Pro, but he's definitely getting the talk, so that's okay. He's getting talked about, which is great. But he just needs to, when the teams start playing that throw the 5-yard out pass, which drives me insane because teams don't know how to cover it. I'm not going to say us, but even in the college games we're watching the last few nights, they throw these out passes and the guy goes for 40 yards. Cooper comes up, snuffs the guy after 2 yards, and then they go, after about a quarter, they say, we can't throw that ball out anymore, so we got to throw it over the middle, and then you get your tipped interceptions or your fumbles, which we got last week, a couple of them, because they had to throw slants. Guy caught it, and then they got the ball knocked out of their hand because Dean was all over him.
Yep. And I should have shouted it out. I do apologize. I didn't mention it before. We talked about the All-Pro. We should have mentioned the rookie team. I'm pretty sure on that rookie team there was Cooper DeJean listed as a slot corner. Let me double verify that real quick. I know you mentioned he was named as a let's see. I think you were saying
I forget what it was.
He was named as a rookie of the year to some writer,
somebody's,
but he was the nickel cornerback, on the all rookie team as a nickel cornerback. So
was that first team or second team?
He's first team. He was first team.
I had to do it, man.
I know. And I think Quinyon Mitchell, he was named to the first team as a starting cornerback as well as
I'll tell you guys, we are set in that defensive back for a long time.
I do agree.
It's beautiful. Now you just continue to build on it, man.
I agree.
I love it. It's great.
Next one is another former all-rookie team player. For me, my player to watch, it's going to be Jalen Carter. Obviously being named as a second-team All-Pro and being a Pro Bowler this year. And I think he's going into the playoffs with a little bit of I don't know. I want to say ice on his shoulder.
A little swagger?
A little cold shoulder. I think
think he's snubbed?
I think so.
Snubbed?
I think he's happy to be second team All Pro. I think he's upset with himself. He only had 4.5 sacks last year. I think he had 6.5.
I think you're right.
So I think he's going in with a little bit of I didn't do as well as I should have done.
God, he's so good.
Even though I got second team All Pro, I got Pro, whatever. I think he's going I didn't do as well as I should. He had 6 sacks last season, only 4.5 this year. You really thought he'd kind of climb the ladder, and he didn't in that sense.
Yeah.
He did in the sense of impact on a game. He's amazing, but I think he's going in with a little bit of.
Well, I think last year,
towards
the end of the season, of course, we know everything about it happened. But as you know, he was kind of vaulted, and then he kind of collapsed, and we could have been his rookie season, the rookie whatever they call it, slump, whatever conditioning. But him and some of the other guys on that line, they took it to a new level this year.
Yep, I agree.
And in playoffs now, if you want to show yourself now, because man, this guy's going to be double teamed again. We're going to need some of the other guys to step it up. Sweaty had a great year. Nolan Smith had a fantastic year. Milton Williams had a great year. Work a couple of those other guys. And I did see a mention of Jalix Hunt somewhere on a rookie thing.
Oh.
Maybe it was buried, down.
Probably. Yeah, I
didn't
see it.
When they say, and another guy who I think was looking pretty good. But I did see his name, and I kind of went, "Oh, nice." He wasn't just me seeing it.
He did. He was an honorable mention.
Yes, thank you.
On the second team All Rookie team.
That's fantastic.
Which is cool. That's pretty cool.
No, and he worked himself in. Some of the other guys got injured when BG went down. We needed that rotation to happen, and he made some plays. There were some games we talked about him, and it's just great to see him. And now here he is, a rookie getting playoff experience. Maybe he gets a sack. Maybe he gets something and really can hang his hat on and continue to grow from here.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. That's a good point.
I know you
are. Let's talk about some injuries going into the game. Good thing is for us, we're going in pretty darn healthy. I mean, we're similar to the 2022 season when we went into the Super Bowl with all 22 starters. We're going in the playoffs with all 22 starters. Everyone's playing. Dallas Goedert, of course, the big name coming back from injury last week, had a great week against the Giants.
Little tune-up.
Looked like a varsity player against freshmen. And he was full participant all week. A.J. Brown, limited participant early on, listed as rest, did not participate on Thursday. Was
some with a knee or something, right?
I
sure heard about that midweek.
I just think it's really rest.
I'm glad.
It's just fake. It's fake. And then same thing, one little worrisome thing on the injury report. Devontae Smith, he was listed as he did not participate today in practice. Now, it says back/rest. I don't know anything really about this back injury.
Spasm or something.
Yeah, so it does say he's unspecified for the game. It doesn't have him listed as in. It doesn't have him listed as out, of course, but still,
okay.
Not something you want to see. You don't
Look at that heating pad on that thing tonight.
Yeah, that's what I
like my back.
I know, you shoveling snow out here in Colorado Springs, but and then the big one of note, everyone kind of talked about Jalen Hurts. The big worry about him. Oh, Jalen Hurts, did he he's gonna be rusty. He hasn't practiced. Is he even gonna play? All that sort of stuff.
Right.
He was a limited participant on Wednesday and then full on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So he's good to go. I've seen some articles stating he looked really sharp in practice and everything. You hope to hear that. That's what you want to see.
Well, in 22, he had the same thing. So we had discussed that earlier too, where he missed a little bit of this and that leading up to the playoffs in 22, and I think he did okay.
And this shows you the importance of the Eagles investing in that backup quarterback spot. Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, whoever you have going forward, it's an important spot to invest in because all of the last 3 seasons, Jalen Hurts has gone into the playoffs banged up. In 2022, he's coming off his shoulder injury and everything like that. Had a shoulder injury against the Bears, and then kind of went into the playoffs. We don't know, and he played great.
Yes.
Last year, of course, broke his finger in the last game of the season, and then this year with his concussion and some of the stuff about his hand, of course, which hopefully that's kind of put all the way behind us. But yeah, it shows you the importance of why we got to invest in that backup quarterback position.
Yeah, and it's good because I haven't been this excited about our backups for a long time. Kenny Pickett was really given a sour note when he came over, and what I've seen of him in those couple games that he got in there, he's playing against first team defenses here. He wasn't playing against the team that didn't care about winning, and he did good. And then of course Tanner McKee blew the doors off, in my opinion.
Real quick, take a quick break just to let you guys remind you to like and subscribe. Comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Rate and subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Help us out, get us a couple more views along the way. We want to be able to share our wisdom and our idiocy with the Eagles fan base everywhere we can. Let's talk about some other games now, Dad. Do you have anything else the Eagles game?
No, I don't.
Let's talk about some other games and start to wrap this up. I got to get home. My baby's tired, and I got to take her home. But number one, on tomorrow, 2:30, Chargers are going to be playing the Texans in Houston. What do you got about this game?
Playoff football is playoff football. So it's not like what I was going to say when you were saying that right away was go boring. But playoff football is playoff football. And it's the only game we've got. These are professionals. It's going to be interesting to watch how the Chargers do. I think both teams have issues, but the coach for the Chargers has really done a good job this year.
Harbaugh,
they got a great quarterback there. We'll see what happens.
I'm surprised to see the Chargers are favored by 3 in Houston, which means, usually Houston, the home team gets the 3, gets 3 points. Gets 3 points. So now with Chargers with a 3-point favorite, this is a pretty.
My wallet will stay in my pocket.
Oh, I know, but they're really expecting them to win, and I'm surprised by that. Yeah. I do think the Chargers are better than the Texans. I think the Texans are kind of like the Packers, limping into the playoffs. Not a good look. Having a kind of tough season. C.J. Stroud
a little bit
down. Yeah, C.J. Stroud a bit of a regression this season. Unfortunately, the sophomore slump we always talk about. Yeah. I saw some people saying, "Dude, C.J. Stroud this offseason, he needs to practice every single day because after his rookie season, he had the craziest offseason I've ever seen. Like he was in Japan and he was going on trips with Micah Parsons, and now he's terrible this year. And it's like, all right, dude, you got to take it seriously. You got to
put in the time."
Next, give me the Pittsburgh Steelers going to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Baltimore got a 9.5-point favorite there. Dad, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know how I feel. I think I've spewed some of my comments about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think they were even worthy of getting in the playoffs. Their defense is amazing. Their offense is just anemic.
Yeah.
I don't think Russell Wilson has it anymore, but again, I may be wrong. But I just don't. They do play the Ravens hard. And that's the only thing I can give them. And the Ravens have had a history of just doing bonehead things in playoff games. I don't understand it. They have the MVP, so that should be a cruise win for them, if you ask me. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be a good game. I don't dislike Pittsburgh. I'm just saying, all season I watched them and they got so much pub, and I just didn't trust them. And then we blew the doors off them.
You hate Pittsburgh.
I do. Kinda.
Speaking of MVP, let's get to another front runner for the MVP. The Denver Broncos are going to be playing the Bills. Obviously, we live out here in the Denver area. We don't love or hate them. He kind of cheers for them. I don't know how I feel. My company partnered with them. I probably shouldn't say that, but my company is the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos. So I should be, rooting for them, and I am. But I also really have a hard time rooting against the Bills. They're one of those teams. They've never won anything. They've been bad for so long. You want to see them give a chance, So
we just want a team that has an opportunity to beat Kansas City.
It's true,
and they do have. They are the one of the teams that can beat them
in the AFC. Yes,
in the AFC.
They're 9-point favorites in Buffalo. Dad, what's your thoughts on that game?
I do like Denver. I think Bo Nix was a fantastic draft pick. I think the fans in Denver should be excited about him. I am excited about him. I like watching him. He's a good player. I think they have no chance in this game. I didn't check the weather over there, even though I have the Weather Daddy shirt on, but I did not check that. So if they get any kind of weather, Denver at least is ready for it, because they play in the cold up here. But I just don't think it's going to overwhelm Bo Nix. I think he's been fantastic. Denver has a fantastic defense, and they've been head-to-head with us for number one defense all season. So they got a bunch of all-pro guys. So which is surprising to me because I don't really watch him on a regular basis. But they got some sack masters, and if you can sack Allen and make him throw picks, especially in that what do you call it? The 20 yards in, which he's known to in the red zone, which he's known to do. They could possibly pull it, but I don't think so. I think Buffalo's going to kill him.
I do agree with you there, and I agree with you on the Bo Nix thing. I like watching Bo Nix. I really like watching him. He's one of those players, kind of like Josh Allen, that I just watch and I'm like, I like this. I like watching him.
You know what's funny?
Similar to Lamar, I love watching Lamar.
Because of scheduling, I have not seen Allen play for probably 5 weeks now.
Yeah, his primetime schedule got taken away kind of.
Yeah, so I didn't really watch him much. I watched him a bunch early.
They played the Patriots and the Jets. And
I usually get to see him every week, but for some reason it just changed we were playing late or something.
Next one on that Sunday is going to be the Commanders playing the Buccaneers. This is a close one. These are two teams I think they're close in level of skill. You know what I mean? I think this could be a close game. It's in Tampa Bay, so that gives them kind of the lead. They're only favored by 3, so basically it's a wash game.
Yeah, but it also gives. Sorry, go ahead. You can.
No, I'm good. There you go.
It also gives Jaden Daniels that great weather where he can do a lot of stuff. It's not cold. When he played us, it was cold and the guys were fumbling the ball and he couldn't really get the offense going because they were fumbling so much because it was so cold. Down there, he could take some more risks. If they can contain him, I think they can beat them pretty easily. They got some good wide receivers, but once he takes off running, man, this guy is like a Mike Vick. He's like, he can run.
He's incredibly athletic.
And he not just run. He's got speed. He can get outside. He's smart. I mean, I've watched him play, and I was really blown away by how well he played this year. But he is a rookie playing in his first playoff game on the road. Tampa Bay is not very, their coach down there. He's got our number a few times, so I think he knows how to do things. So it might be a long day for the Commanders.
Yep. And last game of the Super Wildcard Weekend, Monday night, going to be the Vikings-Rams. Obviously, this game moved to State Farm Stadium in Glendale, so the home field advantage is kind of gone. Probably going to be more Rams fans there than Vikings fans, I would still suggest, but that home field advantage isn't looking as strong now for the Rams, and that was kind of the big deal that people were saying, Sam Darnold in that other home, I don't know, but the Rams are also never home field. So
I was just going to say, if you didn't say it, I was going to say it because people always go to the Rams games. Now, bummer they're having the big fires out there, and we have wish everything's okay out there. I know it's terrible that the fires have been unbelievably terrible, but I mean, they did move the game to Glendale on 2-3 days short. It's just going to be super hard, and it's kind of a bummer for the Rams fans who are real fans who now they got to get and fly to Phoenix or drive to Phoenix and whatever. So, but in the game itself, I think I don't know if the Rams could beat the Vikings. Vikings are still looking too good, and they're going to have that beautiful weather. They're going to be in a dome like they're used to playing. Get them outside, you might have a chance, but I think that's going to be the thing.
It's true. Yeah, the Vikings. We don't. I know we don't have to break down too much of this. I thought the Vikings defense is better. It's listed as 17th in total yards. Now it is second against the run, and it's 5th in points per game as points defense. So it's pretty good. But I'm surprised that the yards are so high against them.
They were fantastic against Detroit early in that game. I was surprised how good they were.
Well, I had the Vikings in one of my fantasies, and they were. It was huge for me. They were getting me 15 points a week, which for defense you're like, what? No, I think it'll be a good game. I think it's similar to the Commanders-Bucks. It's a pretty, somewhat evenly matched game. They did play earlier this season. Kind of funny. It's a bummer that the Vikings didn't beat the Lions last week because it would have been on the NFC side. Eagles-Packers, they played week 1. Commanders-Buccaneers, they played week 1. Lions-Rams, they played week 1.
Wow.
It would have been 3 week 1 matchups in the wild card round.
That is unusual.
It is very unusual. You got anything else, Dan?
No, I don't.
Let's real quick give a shout out to Penn State. Penn State did lose to Notre Dame in the semifinals of the college football playoffs. Right now, Ohio State and Texas are playing. We're not the biggest college guys. Oh, Ohio State did win. Dang it. But I hate Texas too, so it's hard for us that was a hard game for us to cheer for.
Yeah.
We hate both of these teams, but I kind of hate everyone from Texas more than people from Ohio. It's hard because Ohio State's the bigger Penn State rival, but I don't like rooting against them because think about the fans of Cleveland and the Browns. The whole Ohio state is
all they can hang
disgusting.
Their hat on.
The fandom, the teams they've always been terrible, but they have Ohio State. They always get the claim to. So
yeah, they do.
But we'll shout out to Penn State. They had a great season, better season than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect them to get to the Final Four, and I did not expect them to really almost have a chance, to get into the
play calling was abject, but
I didn't expect them to get anywhere near the championship, and they were only a couple plays away. I mean, it sucks the way it ended, but they were there. Let's say our goodbyes. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com and comment down below your predictions for the game and for your predictions of Wild Card Weekend. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.